Welcome into the Wiltfong Whiparound with Steve Wiltfong. We are live. Today is Monday, November 10th, and I'm your host, Josh Newberg. Week 11. Well, we had a lot of action, a lot of big visits, a couple commitments as well. We got plenty of rumors swirling as the weekend comes to an end. Coaching carousel has things heated. We got a lot of new developments today, a lot to tackle today on the Wiltfong Whiparound. Excited to talk with my guy, Steve Wiltfong. Nobody in this game is more dialed in at this time of the year than Steve Wiltfong, which is a great reason why you should be subscribed to the Rivals Recruits channel. If you watch one of these shows this season, jump on board, hit subscribe, because the next 3 weeks are going to be wild. All right, also, join Rivals today. Get 1 year full access to The Athletic, plus all the On3 national and fan site content as well. All right, let's bring in Steve Wiltfong and start at the top. The number one team in the country, Ohio State. They are racking up commitments. Steve, DBJ Timmons flipped from FSU on Thursday. Mason Wilhelm flips from UNC heading into the weekend. Defensive lineman Emmanuel Ruffin, fresh off that decommitment from Colorado. He commits to Ohio State. And then today, athlete Legend Bay flips his commitment from Tennessee to Ohio State. Buckeyes pushing toward a top 5 finish. Steve, where do they go from here?
Well, first, let's not glaze over Legend Bay committing to Ohio State today, Josh. 10.2 speed in the 100-meter dash, the most explosive player in the Lone Star State, commits to Ohio State. Think of a modern-day Curtis Samuel for Ohio State. He can play running back, receiver, slot, return games. He's an absolute weapon. This is a huge flip from Tennessee. The ball sent Josh Heupel down there on Friday to try and keep him in the class. Texas extended a late offer, but it's Ohio State lead recruiter Carlos Lachlan and Ryan Day adding Legend Bay to their recruiting class. He plays quarterback on the prep level. He's thrown for 1,341 yards right now and 15 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. 1,626 more rushing yards, Josh. He's averaging 13.5 yards per carry, 23 more scores. So Ohio State adding to Chris Henry, Caden Dixon-Wyatt, Favor Key, all the playmakers in this class. And I wouldn't be surprised if we look up in a couple years and Legend Bay is Ohio State's top offensive player. That's how explosive he is. This was a big flip at the end of the cycle. Moving forward, I think Ohio State would still like to maybe add in the secondary CJ Brona, another speedster from Florida, committed to the Gators. He's visiting this weekend. Linebacker is a position where they could go. Jaden Williams is obviously a target for Ohio State. He's in-state. He's committed to Indiana. That's going to be a tough flip. Braxton Rembert committed to Wake Forest. He is someone that they offered this fall. I think they're done on the offensive line. So you have Kevin Brown, Penn State commit, who visited Ohio State last weekend. I think that was trending away from the Buckeyes anyway. It sounded promising 2 weekends ago. Sounds more promising for West Virginia, where his dad played, where Rich Rodriguez being there in Morgantown. They're the program that's trending if he doesn't stick with Penn State. Micah Champ-Smith's an offensive lineman that Ohio State's been in the mix for a bunch. Ole Miss, Tennessee, Illinois, now looking more likely for him. But flipping Legend Bay on the heels of all the other flips that you mentioned is another major recruiting win for Ohio State as they push towards the top 5 class.
Yeah, it's been feeling like with Ohio State's momentum, if you want a spot in this class, you better jump on it now. And we're seeing a lot of guys jumping in, getting their spot in this 2026 class. Now, let's kind of turn the page to 2027 a little bit, where we find Ohio State with the number 5 ranked class in America. And 2027 recruiting is here. I know the 2026 cycle is about to end, but we're fully involved with 2027. Who is Ohio State in good shape for at the top of their board?
Well, let's focus on offensive line this episode of Whip Around, Josh, because they just landed the 2 2027s, Kellen Weimer and Mason Wilt from in-state. I think they're setting the pace for another in-state offensive lineman, Davis Seaman. They got some 5-stars with a keen eye on Ohio State at the point of attack. Tyler Bowen, Ryan Day, this coaching staff. Mark Matthews, our number 1 ranked offensive tackle. Kennedy Brown, Maxwell Hiller. Those are guys that have Ohio State on their short list. So does Elijah Hutchinson. And today I logged a prediction for the Buckeyes for them to ultimately land 4-star offensive lineman Brody McNeil. He's the number 5 interior offensive lineman in the Rivals 300. He's been in the Buckeyes campus several times, including the win over Texas, visited last spring, visited again during the summer. And he told me today Ohio State's his leader. I put in that prediction to reflect that and think that the Buckeyes have a great chance of ultimately and adding Brody McNeil to a top 5 class right now. And Ohio State certainly will ultimately have a chance to push for number 1 in 2027. David Gabriel Georges, running back from Chattanooga, Tennessee, is high on the board as anybody Ohio State's recruiting. And he's got to like the way that Ohio State's recruiting on the offensive line in 2027.
Yeah, absolutely. Ohio State fans, how are you guys feeling? How are you feeling about recruiting on the offensive line, the defensive line, the skill positions? You got to love it right now. Everything's rolling. Talk to us. Comment section below. We're talking Canes. Miami Hurricanes are rolling on the recruiting trail. Miami added a commitment on Sunday. James Dunnigan Jr., top 200 prospect at the safety position. And Steve, there's more to come. There's more to come because I know because you've put in predictions. So tell us about these latest predictions for Miami to land recruits.
Well, James Dunnigan put Miami in the top 10 of the Rivals recruiting rankings, number 13 safety, number 140 prospect overall. He's a Kansas State legacy recruit at one point, committed to Kansas, Josh, 6'3", 200 pounds, 3-sport athlete, plays basketball, excels in track and field where he's a sub-11 guy in the 100-meter dash. He has scored a touchdown in all 3 facets, offense, defense, and special teams this year. He's got all the intangibles, but he's a long, rangy tone setter on the back end. Safety, a position of need for Miami this cycle as they want to add difference makers to this position room that boasts one of the best true freshmen in the country, Bryce Fitzgerald. Some other guys that I like Miami for, how about former Clemson commit 4-star Blake Stewart out of Woodward Academy in the Peach State. Now Vanderbilt trying to be a thorn in Miami's side there, but I think Miami ultimately adds Stewart to Dunnigan in the fold there. They are trending heavily for a few defensive linemen. Edge rusher DeAnthony Lafayette could be next in the fold. Just decommitted from LSU, trending heavy for Miami. Florida State tried to be a wrinkle in that one, but still love Miami there. Colleague Chad Simmons, Adam Gorney, some of the others that like where Miami stands. 2 true defensive linemen, Isaac Chikura, committed to Penn State. Logan Nagel, committed to Pitt. Both visited Miami this weekend. I've talked to both of them a couple different times about their trip. Miami's setting the pace for both despite their commitments elsewhere, trending heavy to the Hurricanes. Gavin Mueller, Rivals number 7 ranked tight end in the country. He's going to be back at Miami this weekend after visiting last month. Greg Smith with the report that he's going to visit Miami this weekend. He's committed to Colorado. Great relationships with that Buffalo staff. That's the area where Miami is looking to continue to build upon, as they certainly have the offense, the stage, the style of play that's conducive to him and his skill set. Miami's rising in this recruitment. They look forward to getting them back around Coach Cristobal and the staff, back around the players on the team, maybe some commits to make him feel more comfortable with the people at Miami, loving the program, him coming back. Miami is obviously becoming a major riser for one of the most productive players in the country. He is having as dominant a senior season as anybody in America right now, and he is rising up boards. Miami working hard to flip him. They got some other big names out there, Josh. Those are the names that I think could very well end up in Miami's class, and then we'll see when it comes to big game, big fish hunting. They're trying to flip Jalen Lott from Oregon. That's going to be a tough flip. Texas trying to flip Jalen Lott from Oregon. Jalen Lott's trending to be a 5-star. He's in our top 32 in the Rivals 300. If you finish in the top 32, you're going to finish as a 5-star. Derek Cooper there's always going to be Derek Cooper discussion. Amari Latimer committed to Wisconsin. I don't even know who Miami gets to because pretty soon it's portal season. Where are you going to put your funds? But these are guys that I think they're in on. We talked about it on Recruit Reaction. I don't think they're pushing right now for Syracuse commit Calvin Benjamin. These are the names Calvin Russell. Calvin Russell. I don't think they're pushing for Calvin Russell right now, but everything can change. Everything's fluid. But those names that we mentioned at the top, Blake Stewart, Gavin Mueller, the two defensive linemen, Isaac Chikura and Logan Nagel, and of course, D'Anthony Lafayette, all have spots in the Miami class if they want them. And I could see them landing all of those guys when all said and done.
All right. I want to ask you about two more names. They're not flip targets, one in 26, one in 27. First, Drake Quinn. He narrowed his list down. Miami makes the cut here. I kind of feel like they're on the outside looking in of Texas and Ohio State. What's your feel on Drake Quinn?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned him because he is a target for Miami. They brought him down. They'd love to land him. Everyone loves Drake Quinn because as good as he is as a prospect, he's got elite intangibles, just makes your locker room better. People love him, love his family. They're swinging. My predictions on Texas, as Chad Simmons reported today, he's got that Ohio State UCLA visit this weekend. We talked about that visit a bunch. It's been in the works. Hayes Fawcett was first to report that one. Buckeyes have been rising in that one. You know where my prediction's at. It's on Texas. Going to be back in Texas next weekend for an unofficial. Tennessee is really pushing there. Tennessee's also pushing for Jaden Carter, former Texas A&M commit that they're battling Georgia Tech for. Carter Gooden's another Tennessee target out there at the position. So Drake Quinn, Miami's in those sweepstakes, and we'll see how that continues to play out.
All right, let's end it with this. The number one running back in America, Kamon Spell, made his first visit to Miami over the weekend. Steve, you've been talking to his camp, his father, some people over there. What are you hearing coming out of this trip to Miami?
Well, they had a fabulous time. Loved the environment, the atmosphere around the program, Miami's style of play. And his dad told me that he expects Miami to be in his top 4 as his recruitment continues. So I would imagine he'll get back to South Florida, Coral Gables, and spend more time around Miami. But Miami is a player in that recruitment. I think Notre Dame's setting the pace with what they offer on and off the field, relationship with Coach Sider, Jeremiah Love, and his play. You see after his touchdowns, his long runs, he's doing that. Jeremiah Love signed the touchdown celebration. But we've said Miami just needs to be in the race. And when they're in the race, we see them, as much as any program, go from 4th to 1st, 3rd to 1st, 2nd to 1st. And they're in this battle right now for Kamon Spell following a terrific visit, which included Miami's win over Syracuse. However, a couple guys that Miami hosted this weekend. Another guy, prize defensive lineman Jackson Vaughn from Virginia, who Miami's in a good spot for. They didn't make the game, but the trip was still worth it with the time they got to spend with Coach Cristobal and staff afterwards into Sunday. Because of all the travel struggles.
All right. Well, Miami's in good position. We know one thing. You can question Mario Cristobal on a few things, but one thing you can't is his ability to close. So Miami fans, talk to us. Who's your favorite flip target heading down the stretch? There's going to be a couple. Let us know. Comment section below. It's time to talk Notre Dame recruiting. The Irish are in pole position for several top targets. We got some new predictions. We're going to get to the predictions in a minute, but first, 2026, Steve, it's pretty much wrapped up for Notre Dame except for one flip target that was on campus this weekend. Penn State safety commitment Matt Sigg. What are you hearing about this one coming out of the visit?
Well, I talked to Matt after the game on Saturday night, talked to him again late Sunday evening just to see where he was at. He had a fantastic visit to Notre Dame. Several sources view the Irish as the biggest threat to ultimately flip him from Penn State. And Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, Mike Mickens, and the staff are on the gas for Matt Sigg at the end of this cycle. He said the energy was awesome at the game. The fans were amazing from pregame to the last snap, and it was super cool experience. The thing that is exciting about Notre Dame is how solid they are how solid they are as a program. They constantly put guys in the league and compete for championships along with a top-notch education. Earning a Notre Dame degree definitely carries weight in the world for life after football as well. Notre Dame, they have the number 4 class in the country, Josh. They have the best secondary class in the country. There is a standard to that room. They had arguably the best secondary in college football last year as they made their way to the college football playoff. They are loaded with young talent. Matt Sigg meets that standard. They want him in there pushing this room. And that's the kind of environment he sees getting the best out of him. Now, he said he's got to go home, and he's still thinking on it and still viewing things. We'll see who Penn State hires. West Virginia's involved. Pitt's involved, and of course, Indiana, Coach Sigg involved for Matt Sigg here down the stretch. But it was a fantastic visit to Notre Dame this weekend as the Irish give him a lot to think about.
Yeah, how to be a great environment to be at if you're a flip target. All right, let's turn our attention to 2027 because that's where your predictions have been rolling in. Steve, tell us the latest on who you are predicting to the Irish.
Well, Notre Dame has the number 11 class early in the cycle, but they'll push for another top 5 class in 2027. Starts with the way they're playing. National title game last year, trending for a second home game in the college football playoff this year. They had some terrific players on campus. It starts in the secondary. Predicted rivals number 4 corner Zay Hassan out of North Carolina to Notre Dame. My prediction joins an earlier one from Mike Singer. Hassan has been to Notre Dame several times now. He's one of their top targets regardless of position. He said it was amazing. The game was great, especially when it started snowing. The more I come back, it feels more like home. What really stands out is how genuine the staff is and how much they care about their guys. The tradition and atmosphere at Notre Dame is just different. It just feels like a place where you can grow on and off the field. And then my biggest takeaway from my conversation, he said it's special. And everyone on my team, my parents, coaches, and trainers, all feel like it's special for me regarding Notre Dame. The other predictions, Garyon Hobbs is a safety from Louisville. They're battling Vanderbilt for. I think Notre Dame is setting the pace in that recruitment. And then how awesome is it to put in a prediction after newly hired Greg Biggins at Rivals. Greg Biggins put in the prediction for Khalil Terry to Notre Dame for them to go out to California, land one of the best defensive backs out west. My intel corroborates that on Monday because, of course, it does. Biggins is on it. And I talked to Terry after the game on Saturday night, and he talked about how Notre Dame matched everything he had heard going into the visit. He loved the energy around the stadium, said it was electric. Places on the West don't really resemble stadiums like Notre Dame on game days. You know, the biggest thing he said is they have a plan for me. They understand my skill set and are able to explain how and where I fit. The academics are a given. It's Notre Dame. And more than anything, my coaches and parents are comfortable with the way Notre Dame is recruiting me. The other really good thing he said, which is kind of the main thing as well, he emphasized, is that I'll always be in the hunt for a national title. So Notre Dame checks a lot of boxes for him. Those are 3 guys the Irish are trending for in the secondary. A couple more names I want to add, Josh, that Notre Dame's definitely at the top of the list, if not leading. Offensive lineman Leighton Von Brandt, number 7 offensive tackle in the country, recently decommitted from Penn State, number 37 player overall. Joe Rudolph was recruiting him even when he was committed to Penn State, Notre Dame's offensive line coach. And then Titus Hawk, all name team, terrific baseball and football player, Rivals 300 tight end. Notre Dame's at the forefront of his recruitment as well.
Wow, tight end with the name Hawk. I love that. They are absolutely rolling in 2027. When you said probably push for a top 5 class, I mean, Notre Dame already has their quarterback locked in Teddy Gerard. Now they're kind of putting the pieces around it. And anytime you can have a big-time quarterback committed this early, it's going to bode well, especially when you are winning ball games at the clip that Notre Dame is in 2025. So Notre Dame fans, talk to us. A lot of predictions rolling in. We're talking flips. We're talking winning. How you guys feeling? Put it in the comment section below. We're talking Alabama coming off that SEC rivalry win over LSU. Alabama now ranked number 5 in the recruiting rankings. Doesn't sound like they're done, though, Steve. You got a new 5-star prediction in. And before we get to that prediction, though, we got to talk about a major 2026 flip target on campus this weekend. Michigan State wide receiver commitment, Samson Gash. Which way is he trending coming out of this visit?
Well, Rivals 300 recruit from Detroit Catholic Central, an explosive player with 10.4 speed in the 100-meter dash. Sources with knowledge of this recruitment thought Alabama was trending going into the visit. Some sources that spent time with him during his time in Tuscaloosa feel good about Alabama ultimately flipping him coming out of it. He told me he still has some conversations ahead with his family, but he told me his OB was great this morning, Monday morning. They treated me very, very well and really went in depth about everything about the school and football program. He said that the game day energy stood out, the strength and conditioning side, the body health side really caught his attention. And walking out on the field for the rivalry game against LSU at night gave him goosebumps. So he could see himself at Alabama coming into the visit. He talked about the history of the program, what it would mean to play for a program like that. He had several family members with him. He believes in Coach DeBoer and his track record of winning. So Alabama continues to impress Samson Gash.
Yeah, really looks like it's trending in the Tide's direction there. Speaking of trending in their direction, Bama is ramping up 2027 recruiting. And Steve, you put in a new 5-star prediction coming out of the weekend.
Yeah, 5-star offensive lineman, the number one interior offensive lineman in the country per the Rivals industry rankings, Maxwell Hiller at Alabama. He told me Bama's his leader. So my prediction reflects that. It used to be on Penn State. South Carolina's been prominent. Many others have offered and are recruiting him heavily. But Alabama, that scene on Saturday, his relationship with Coach Cap and that staff, the track record, they are setting the tone in the recruitment for one of the most coveted players in the country in 2027.
All right. Speaking of 2027, number 1 quarterback Elijah Haven from Baton Rouge was on the sidelines for that beatdown of LSU. What are you hearing on him, and who else? What other big names were on campus over the weekend?
Well, I talked to Elijah Haven's dad, Kwame Haven, right after the game. He said another awesome experience at Alabama. I probably said it 1,000 times. Stability and development are the most important things, and Alabama checks those boxes, and they just love how genuine Coach DeBoer, Coach Sheridan, Coach Grubb are. They just feel extremely comfortable at Alabama. Alabama continues to lead in that recruitment for Elijah Haven. They had Rivals number 2 interior offensive lineman Ishmael Kamara on campus. He spent time around former players like Tyler Booker and company. It was a great visit for him. Rivals number 3 edge Anthony Sweeney said the atmosphere was fire. He loves the winning culture and development at Alabama. I think Alabama still leads for Louisville 4-star receiver Jahide Brown. He's been up to Alabama a bunch. And on Monday morning, I talked to the father of Zyron Forstall, the number 1 ranked edge in the country per the Rivals industry rankings. Travis told me that they enjoyed the experience, pointed to the development, pointed to just the foundation of the program, how they pivot from Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer, and how Alabama, just what it means, what it stands for. It just maintains its standard in college football, the undeniable pride of winning at Alabama, the experience of game weekends there. Alabama's doing a really good job in that recruitment. Same goes for Rashad Streets, the number 7 edge rusher in the country. They had 5-star David DJ Jacobs, an edge rusher from Georgia. They're trying to make a move on Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Miami for him. So it was a star-studded recruiting weekend like it always is for Alabama, LSU. And when all said and done, the Crimson Tide are going to land their fair share from the weekend.
We're talking Texas A&M. The Aggies, Steve, and Mike Elko are in the midst of a historic season in College Station, and recruiting, it's rolling. So what do you love about this 2026 class, which is currently ranked number 6 in the nation?
Well, this is a Texas A&M class that should keep them playing at the standard that Mike Elko and this second-year staff has put in place at Texas A&M. This is a team that is 2 wins away of basically locking up a college football playoff position and being undefeated going into the season finale at Texas. They have South Carolina this weekend, a desperate Gamecocks team looking to get a signature win this fall. And then I think they play Samford, and then it's bring on the Hook'em Horns for the season finale. Last year, Texas A&M went into that Texas game a win away from playing for the SEC title. So they showed some drastic improvement as a program from the year before to Mike Elko's first year, where he completely changed the culture, accountability, getting these players to play hard, maximizing their potential with the assistant coaches, Coach Bateman on defense, Coach Klein on offense, and everything else, schematically putting these guys in position to perform Saturday in and Saturday out. They've had some big wins this year, including going into South Bend and beating Notre Dame at night. Anytime you win on the road at night, it's huge. To win at a place like that is massive. And they got playmakers all over. One of the top running back rooms in the country, Reuben Owens, Lavian Moss, Marcel Reed's a run threat. He's playing at a high level. They hit big in the transfer portal with guys like Craver and Concepcion. They got big play out of their tight end. And then, of course, the defense flies around. What do you love about this this class? You asked me, well, it starts on defense. How about the corners, Brandon Arrington and Victor Singleton? Those guys have high upside traits to be locked down in the SEC for years to come. And they got one of the best running back classes in the land, KJ Edwards and Jonathan Hatton in the fold, 2 top 5 players at their position. Quarterback Helaman Kasuga was the guy that they zeroed in on. He had a fantastic Elite 11 finals, a guy that can really distribute the football, and we know that Texas A&M is going to put playmakers around him. Tylen Wilson was another big win in the secondary. Aaron Gregory was one of their top receiver targets they have committed, and Samuel Rosaboro was a big win on the offensive line. This class is terrific from top to bottom. It ranks number 6 nationally. And then in 2027, they're going to have a chance to finish number 1, but they're not done in 2026, Josh.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little 2027 in a minute, but right now, when it comes to 2026, there's a couple spots remaining, and I'm looking at KJ Ford, Lamar Brown, Jace Matthews. I'm sure there's some others that Texas A&M's in on. How do you think they could finish down the stretch?
Well, KJ Ford's definitely one that I could ultimately see in Texas A&M's class. He's expected at the South Carolina game this weekend. It will be his 3rd game day visit of the season. Now, USC is still out there. Texas Tech is swinging, and maybe Florida and the new staff can keep them in the fold. But A&M, led by Tony Girard-Eady's efforts, they're in a great spot for KJ Ford right now, and they are on the gas for him. Another visitor this weekend is 4-star receiver, Rivals 300 recruit Jaden Warren. He's committed to Houston. This is an official visit. A&M's already had him on campus earlier this fall. He has kind of emerged as the top remaining target at wide receiver down the stretch, and so Texas A&M would love to add him. Braylon Womack visiting this weekend. He was always one of Texas A&M's most coveted targets, regardless of position. 5-star safety, committed to Auburn. I feel like Texas A&M was where they need to be from an NIL standpoint. Certainly what Mike Elko and company have done historically at safety, him and Coach Ish, how important the safety position is to Coach Elko. Some of the guys he's developed, like Kyle Hamilton, Jesse Bates, the role that the safety has in the defense as the centerpiece of the defense. Just getting him back around the program, getting him comfortable with College Station and attending Texas A&M is that next hurdle for Braylon Womack, who was always hoping it would work out at Auburn. He loved Auburn, loved the vibe on the Plains, believes in Coach Durkin and that defense, and his sister plays softball there. Mississippi State had Womack on campus this weekend. A&M gets him next weekend. There's other programs swinging, so we'll see what happens. Then Lamar Brown, I think he ends up at LSU, but A&M's still having dialogue there, so we'll see what happens. And same with Jace Matthews, committed to Auburn, but A&M communicating.
Yeah, going to be an exciting finish. Now, you hit on 2027 and mentioned that the Aggies have a shot at landing the number 1 class. They're currently sitting there at number 3. Who are some of the bigger names that they're trending for, in your opinion?
Let's talk game time. The NFL season is moving along. And if your favorite team is playing as well as my favorite team is, you are going to need this go-to ticket source to see your favorite team play down the stretch. Mine just won in Europe. Hopefully yours won on Sunday as well. And tickets aren't going to be easy to find, and getting deals on last-minute tickets can be frustrating when all you want to do is be there for the moment your team runs out onto the field. Well, thankfully, the Game Time app gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing ticket experiences, and it only takes a few simple clicks. The app is easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means that you can trust that you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you pay. And one of the coolest features, the Game Time lowest price guarantee. It's where Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference to guarantee you're getting the lowest price if you find cheaper tickets elsewhere. So here's what we're going to do. Download the Game Time app and use the promo code Wiltfong, WILTFONG, for $20 off your first purchase. That's Wiltfong, WILTFONG, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply at Game Time. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Well, let's just start in state right now, Josh. How about the number 1 overall player in the Rivals industry rankings, cornerback John Meredith? I already have Texas A&M predicted to land John Meredith. Now, Ohio State, Alabama, Texas Tech, some of the other programs, SMU is involved. They're one of the lead dogs for Kennedy Brown, 5-star offensive tackle. The number 1 linebacker, Cooper Witten, they're on his short list. Ishmael Kamara, I feel like they've been setting the tone in that recruitment. And I have Texas A&M predicted for the number 3 running back in the country, Landon Williams-Callis. They're certainly one of the favorites for the number 5 safety, Jaquan Small. Those are all top 50 recruits nationally right now. And then out-of-state names that Texas A&M is in the mix for. Zyron Forstall out of IMG Academy. I think they're one of his early favorites. Certainly David DJ Jacobs, a 5-star edge from the Peach State. Texas A&M's done a good job in that recruitment. Albert Simeon, number 1 interior lineman in the Rivals 300 rankings, I also already have predicted to Texas A&M. So the Aggies doing a fantastic job. Caden Henderson, a linebacker from Florida. They have the eye of the best players in the country in 2027. They do a good job of building relationships with them. Play on the field is certainly resonating. And then we know Texas A&M can handle their business when it comes to opportunities through NIL.
All right, Aggie fans, let's hear it. How you guys feeling about the season? How you feeling about recruiting? And who is your biggest flip target heading down the stretch? Let us know.